Are you ready to unlock your full potential and achieve your personal, professional, and financial goals? Welcome to Remarkably Simple, the podcast dedicated to helping you do just that. I'm Moneke Fields, and I believe that with the right strategies, anyone can achieve remarkable results. Whether you're a seasoned leader or just starting a business, this podcast is your guide to achieving your goals with simplicity and efficiency. Let's embark on this journey together and make success simple. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Remarkably Simple. I'm Moneke Fields, and very excited to introduce to you today another acquaintance of mine. This is Mr. Cory Nunes, who is the financial consultant that you want to be associated with. He has been working for the last 4 years to help people with tax-free income solutions, and his specialty is helping individuals to find opportunities and solve their financial problems. Welcome, Cory.
Hey, Moneke, I'm glad to be here. This is exciting. This is very exciting.
I agree. So the first thing I'd like to do, just so we can give our audience a little context, is to invite you to share with us your background and experience that brought you to doing this work with helping people find tax-free solutions for their finances.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so my background and how I came about into the financial services industry, financial consulting, is I grew up on a dairy all my life. So my family, we in that kind of territory where, work hard, do all that kind of stuff, have that strong sense of work ethic. So I ended up in about 2007. I started my own construction company. I was in the trades and stuff before that, but what I seen in 2000, I'd say about 2010, I was looking at all the rest of the general contractors that were out there that were working, right? And they're working way into their 70s, sometimes even into their 80s, and they're slowing down, but they turn in these one-man shows, but there's no retirement in the future for them. It's like, and I start watching, you start talking to them, and I realized retirement for most of them is, a bunch of wore out tools and a broken down body. And that's not what I was looking for. That was not what I was looking for. I got into that trades basically to have some freedom, be my own boss. It doesn't quite work that way, but all in all, it was a good move for me. Raised a good family while doing so. But 4 years ago, I realized I needed to do something. So I started looking into something else. And I need to put money away, where to put it, how money works, where does it grow, make it work for you, kind of those situations that you hear every day, right? Then I found this company. At the time, they're called CalChoice Investments, and they rebranded to Mod Financial. But they showed me and taught me so much on how money works, where to put it, how it's going to work, where it's safe, where it's at risk, how it doubles, how everything, all those things work. And then they helped me put a plan together that actually gave me an exit strategy. And I was just so amazed on what I learned. And I had so much fun going through that process. When you think how fun doing that, like, I don't even want to talk about money, right? But it was fun. And so there it was. After we get a plan together, I asked them, how can I help others do this? And the gentleman that helped me goes, well, we can put you to work right away, but you got to go get a license and get all this, but you can join up with us and do this on the side if you want. So that's what I did. And I did it as a side hustle for about 2.5 years. I've closed down my construction company now, and I've been doing this full time now for right around 2 years. I've been in it for 4, but full time, all in for 2 years now straight, and still learning every day about it. And it's great, and helping others.
Well, several of my favorite things just came out of what you said. One of my favorite things is to talk about people in their transitions, right? The experience you describe about your background growing up on the dairy and seeing other people who worked in different industries and weren't prepared to ever take a break, relax, and enjoy the fruit of their labor, so to speak, that you kind of opened your eyes and realized that you were headed down the same path. But not only did you seek a better option for yourself, you turned around and decided to make it something like a personal mission to help other people find solutions that would get them some of that, you know, enjoyment that I think that we're all working towards. So I love that beautiful example. And another question that I have for you is, you shared about what it was like growing up on the dairy and realizing that you weren't going to be prepared to retire, so you determined to fix that. But are there particular like challenges or setbacks that you experienced that when you look at them now, you really think they helped you, made you stronger, or perhaps really enabled you to do the work that you're doing now?
Yeah, so some things that made me stronger was really just the background of growing up in agriculture, being on that dairy, The cows got to be fed twice a day, milked twice a day. Everything's got to happen. Them cows depend on you every day. So no matter how sick you are, no matter how much you feel, how much you don't want to get out of bed, how much, no matter what is it, break your leg, break your arm. It doesn't matter. It has to be done, right? And I
Hmm.
mean, that actually happened to me. My dad was on vacation. I blew my knee out playing football when I was in high school, but I was in charge of feeding the cows twice a day every day. So I still had to suck it up, blown out knee. I'm getting on the tractor, on the equipment, feeding hay. That's something I just had to do. There was no thought in my mind like, who else is going to do this, right? It's like that has to be done. So it gave me that work ethic to just keep going, and you just work through the pain, you work through everything, you make things happen. And I think you can put that into every business that you look at, no matter what you want to do. If you want to write a book, you know, just go do it. Keep pushing through. You're going to have hard times and some things are going to come easy, but you just keep doing it, doing it, doing it. And sooner or later, you write the last page of that book. And that's kind of the situation you put yourself in. Now, one of the hardest lessons I learned was when I started a construction company. And that's the part I didn't understand. Money's got to come in so money can go out. So I failed in the process of the financial piece. Funny to say that now that I'm in consulting, right? But you live, you learn. So I didn't have a bookkeeper, and that's what my biggest concern, or not my biggest mistake was, is not having that bookkeeper in place. They're going to take care of all the finances goes out so that I can concentrate on the job, because that's all I was concentrating on. Job, I got to take care of that client, build that house, get that remodel done, go get this equipment here and get that equipment there. Where I failed to get my invoices out, because that's the only way I'm going to get money coming in, is sending those invoices out. But you know who's sending me invoices? All my suppliers, and they
Hmm.
expect to be paid on time, and they should be. But if I don't have the money to pay them, now I'm making that phone call saying, I just got to get paid and I'm going to get the money to you, right? And they're going, yeah, no problem. But what's on that stamp? They give you a late charge and an interest fee. So they're making money, right? Where they know you're good for it, but that's cost that you just put on top of your business that you should not have to have. And in a bookkeeper, even though the bookkeeper is going to cost you some money, they will make you money. So my advice is, if you're going to start something and you need the cash flow to keep turning, find a way to get that addressed.
I love this as a great example about how what you could conceptualize as a failure taught you a really important lesson. And you said it. You learned from that experience that um, sometimes you've got to spend the time, the energy, or the money to make sure that the business is going to operate properly. And you said now that you're in financial services, you realize how important it would have been to have that bookkeeper just so that you could keep those invoices going out and have the money collected. I'm guessing, some lessons are unfortunately, whether it's best learned or worst learned, however you want to phrase that, they are learned the hard way. And I think that's a really important one. And I know some people can use and apply that advice. The other thing that you shared at the beginning of that about how you can apply this principle of it's your responsibility, you've got to get it done, to everything in life. And whether you're working in financial services, saving for retirement, starting a business, like me, maybe you're coaching people. In the end, it all boils down to what kind of commitment do you have to the task that you're doing, to the work that you're in, and you've got to stay committed to that. And I agree 100% with you that that's a really big applicable takeaway. So I love that you shared that example. Now that you work in financial services and are so passionate about helping people to be prepared for their future, finding tax-free income, what would you say are some of the lessons that are so important that you teach people and that you want to help them learn?
The main thing and the lessons I like to teach people is just the simple aspects of how money works. You know,
Mhm.
most people, I mean, and this is just, a broad shot here, but most people think, get your 9 to 5, go to work, hopefully, hopefully have that job has some kind of health care, some kind of pension or 401k or something like that.
Mhm.
Throw as much money into those retirement funds as you can, and you're going to be fine when you retire. Well, we have found that to not be the truth now.
Mm.
The baby boomer generation is retiring right now at an alarming rate all the time. They're in the retirement zone and they don't have enough money to retire.
Mhm.
So they're trying to live off less Social Security, whatever they did have in their 401ks, but they're finding out they can't maintain the same lifestyles that they had when they were working. So what are their choices? Work a little longer, right? You know, get it, work longer, die sooner, or a combination of the two, right?
Sounds
So
pretty bleak.
yeah, so I like to show people that there's other strategies out there that just, you're not taught every day about these little different nuances and different things that are out there. There's ways to have that 401k is great, but that 401k, you can actually have too much money in it and it will hurt you
Mm.
down the road. So
Mhm.
well, I always tell everybody you need to have the correct amount in that 401k. There's basically 3 buckets of money, taxable, tax deferred, tax free. Which bucket do you want your money in? And everybody says, oh, I want it all in the tax free bucket. And I say, that's great, but that won't work either. You got to have the right amount of money in each bucket, and then you're set. So we
Mhm.
just show them different strategies, educate them on different pieces because everybody's got a different way of looking at it, and everybody's got a different situation in their life. So we just educate them on different pieces, start putting plans together, piece by piece by piece, until they're like, "This makes sense. We can do this," and then we help them put it in place.
Yeah,
It's
so it sounds like you're
fine.
helping people build a structure so that, you know, as they continue to prepare for retirement, things are working as they should. I like the way you describe that you are helping them understand how the process works, getting a plan in place. And I imagine once it's rolling, then, it's just maintenance after that.
Yeah, it's a blueprint, and we can
Right.
always modify, we can change a few lines here and there, but as life changes and we move on. So but you got to get that foundation started, get it built where you understand how the money's working, how it's coming in and out, and then we can, you know, change the blueprint a little bit as we build up.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So, speaking of that, though, what are some of the common challenges that you see right now when you're working with people in this financial industry, and how do you help them navigate those?
So the biggest challenges that I find with people and trying to help them with their finances is basically that our mindset.
Hmm.
Their mindset is so driven. We've been so taught, like I said, to have that good job, make sure it has a 401k, put much money into it, and you're going to be okay. They're in that mindset. And to get them to break from that mindset that the traditional way is not working anymore, let's look at some more modern solutions. Let's look at
Hmm.
something different. Let's take a different road over here. There's things on parallel paths that you just need to be able to operate and have more going. Get diversification done. Now, when I say diversification, most people say I am diversified. I got all my money. It's all mutual funds, so it's very diversified. But that is all still in one basket. That's all in a stock market.
I
Now, when I
see.
talk diversification, I'm talking different asset classes. And you need to
Mm,
have, anywhere between, you need to have 8 or more asset classes. So you are truly diversified. So, that could be real estate, um, insurance, stocks, bonds, all those kind of things. I mean, we can go on forever trying to name them all, and get gold and all that kind of stuff. So you need to have all of them so you're properly diversified. So that way, when there's a hiccup in the road, it doesn't happen. Just like it happened in 2008 for most people's retirements, right? They
hmm
lost over 50, someone lost over 50% of their retirement.
Right.
It took them 20 years to get back to even. It's just crazy. So those people that were planning on retiring that year, it didn't happen.
Right.
So they had to work longer.
So the strength of the mindset, and I love this point that you make because it's another one of these overarching concepts that can be applied to so many other areas. One of my favorite questions is what else could be true? It's so easy to get on autopilot. And I think healthy skepticism is good, right? You should be curious, not so critical and determining ahead of time it's not going to work, it's right, it's wrong. But are you at least willing to entertain the question? And I like that what you're asking people to do is to consider how perhaps the way that they just assume it should be done, or they've always heard that it should be done, it's just worth looking into. What are the other options? You talked about parallel tracks where alternative methods are available, and there are very common I think we all can think of examples of this happening in our lives. Misleading language, but that point that you just made about a diversified mutual fund, it's still just mutual funds.
Yeah.
So that's a great insight about investing into multiple asset classes, and obviously working with someone who's informed and can help get you really good information, or at least doing really good research to figure out what those are and how you can get started participating in them. I think all of this is so fascinating, and obviously I'm intrigued now. I want to have a one-on-one session with you so that we can talk about what's going on in my financial world. But for our viewers and listeners, where would you encourage them to come and look so that they can follow you and find out more?
So the easiest place to find me is on LinkedIn. Um, look up Cory Nunes. I'm associated with Mod Financial. So look me up on there, send me an invite to connect and I'll connect with you. And then we can start chatting there. And then through that process, I'll get you my email, my phone numbers, and we'll get all the connection. It's actually, I think, posted there. If you go on my profile, you can find all that kind of, you can find my cell phone number. So boom, here I am. But yeah, that's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. I mean, my number's 707 599 0524. Don't be afraid to reach out. It's my job to talk. So,
I can attest that you are very accessible and great to work with. I have another question for you. I've just got two more to wrap up. The first one I would like to say is I'm sure you know better than I assume that we are all over the place, as it relates to our financial conditions and positions. But what is it that you would say is the one thing that if you could just speak to every individual and influence everybody's practices or their thinking around what they're doing with their financial well-being, what's the one thing that you would advise people to do that you think makes everything simpler or flow better?
so see, the number one advice I'd give
Hmm.
probably, I mean, there's kind of a few things in there. So I'll put it like this. The number one advice, if you think everything you're doing is right, that's great. Okay. What are you afraid of then by getting a second opinion?
Mm.
Right? Don't be afraid to get a second opinion. Number one, don't always be open-minded enough to see something else. I mean, that's like the best advice I give everybody. I even tell my clients when they meet with me, if they have not met with somebody else, I go, you should at least go talk to somebody else. See what else. I go, but do yourself a favor, make sure you're educated, and make sure the person you are talking to you trust. Make sure you know that they're working in your best interest.
Hmm.
And That's the best advice I could give is don't be afraid to get a second opinion. I mean, it's your money. It's not my money. It's not somebody else's money. It's your money. So make sure you're 100% comfortable with what you're doing with it.
Yeah, I think that's so important, and applicable to all of life that, you want to be sure about what you're sure about. You're not seeking information or entertaining questions because you doubt your certainty. It's reinforcing that, right? So to your point, when you get a second opinion, maybe it just confirms that you're on the right track and you check that. And that's fantastic. So, the last question that I have for you is to ask that you share a favorite story of someone that you saw perhaps in one financial situation when you started working with them and they've been able to kind of turn things around. I think that'd be really fascinating to hear before we go.
Yeah. So my favorite one is probably because it holds dear and close to my heart is a dairy family who they retired. They sold the cows. They sold the dairy, and in doing so, at that time, they put their money into. They went to their advisor, right? I think their CPA. Then their CPA sent this advisor, and he puts them in these different classes. They had a couple of annuities, some stocks and some bonds and stuff like that. And since I was in the business one time, they're just kind of, they don't know, but they have these things and that's what they're drawing money from. And they're looking at that number and they're like, how long is my money actually going to last me? That's
Mhm.
the key, right? So they asked if I would take a look and just give an opinion on what they had. And really what it came down to is they weren't necessarily going to run out of money, but their lifestyle was going to, as they got older, was going to drastically start dropping off,
Mm,
right? Because just an example was one of the annuities was a great annuity. When I seen it, it was the best annuity I've ever seen. If I could buy that annuity today, I would be yelling at from the mountaintops for everybody to buy this. I don't care if you're how old you are, you need to put some kind of money into this, whatever you
mhm,
got, the bare minimum, whatever we got to do to get that annuity. And then their other annuity was absolutely the worst one I've ever seen yet in the business. So they had the best
mm,
and the worst. So all I did was explain to them how this one was working, how this one was working, and they can tell that, oh yeah, that one always kind of concerned us because it looks like we're going to run out of money. I go, you are. So you're going to lose that part of your income at a time where you probably need it the most because the older you get, the more
right.
health problems we have and everything else like that comes about. So what we did, we restructured some things that they had, all they had some other stocks and bonds. We actually moved that to real estate. So they had some income coming there. Then we moved that bad annuity though, we changed it into another annuity because there's laws on what we can and can't do. So it had to go, like for like kind of a situation. So we put them in a better annuity to where now that they're going to have guaranteed income for as long as they live. It's not
Mhm.
going to run out. It's guaranteed and it's going to be there throughout their life. So, and they were really, really appreciative to me. And I was really happy to help, somebody from the dairy industry where I grew up in and knowing how hard they work for their money
Mhm.
that they actually were going to be okay now.
I love the simplicity of that, right? There wasn't a drastic change in this case that was necessary. Just taking a look, being willing to entertain the question. This is a perfect example of that one best advice that you would give everybody and how it really benefited them with just some subtle shifts that could help them maintain and sustain the benefit of nearly a lifetime of hard work. And I can only imagine how much joy it brings you to be able to help people do things like that with their finances. So, thanks so much for sharing your experience and these examples with us today, and just joining me for this conversation, Corey. It's been great to have you.
It was great being here. It was a lot of fun.
All right. Thank you.